colleagues, in my part of the presentation, I would like to explain Gazprom's position in the international markets. I'm going to comment on pipeline gas supplies as well as LNG. I'll comment on the forecasts of market situations and also our prospects across the board. In 2020, all oil and gas companies of the world faced a very unfavorable economic environment. Spot prices in global gas markets demonstrated a record low. In spring and also in summer, they hit their historical minimums. This ideal storm was made possible due to a combination of several negative factors simultaneously, such as mild weather, lockdown due to COVID, and the global economic crisis. All of that was happening against the backdrop of excessive supply of gas on the market. One must mark that the probability of last year's market situation to remain in the longer term is pretty much zero. Such pricing levels cannot be sustainable in medium to longer term. They don't even cover the margin costs of most gas producers. On top of that, we see market fundamentals getting back to normal. In this environment, the positions of PGC Gazprom and the external market give us some optimism. Our company lived through the unpredictable year of 2020 with pride and maintained its market share. We sustainably diversify our supply destinations and secure our foothold in new markets. We're increasing volumes via new pipelines. We are developing additional trading mechanisms, thus improving flexibility of the whole market. We successfully satisfied excessive demand in extremely cold winter months. In particular, we see much more stable position in the European gas market than a year ago. After a major slump in early 2020, we saw some volatile growth of global gas prices and European prices in particular. It is explained, among other things, by a fast recovery of demand in Asia and reduced supply of LNG. Thanks to availability of pipeline gas, our gas to off-takers, we saw significant growth in the second half of the year. Volumes of LNG imports remained low. In early 2021, the European gas market became balanced again, while Gazprom managed to demonstrate its competitive advantages and leadership was to be maintained thanks to low cash cost, flexibility and reliability of supply, developed infrastructure and a portfolio of contracts. We demonstrated that we were ready to continue competing against new suppliers, and we also served a reliable and flexible supply to European off-takers, balancing and stabilizing the market. One must remember the cold winter of 2020 to 2021. It even caused the threat of blackouts in certain countries and reinforced the key role of pipeline gas to ensure reliability of energy security in Europe. In 2021, the pricing environment in Europe is going to be more predictable than a year before. Now, let us recollect the situation in early 2020. The winter was mild in Europe and underground storage inventories were high, and there were the risks about concerns rather about Ukrainian transit. All these drivers affected the price. Early in 2021, the situation has been reversed. Gas inventories are significantly lower than last year's averages. It is related to cold winter and the outflow of LNG towards Asia. The need to replenish inventories would support demand and prices in the upcoming summer. On top of that, the recovery of the European economy is going to support demand for energy in general. Thus, the critical situation of excessive supply is not going to be repeated this year. Hence, the exports policy of Gazprom has proven its efficiency even in the very complex environment of 2020. In the second quarter, spot prices went down to their historical minimums, less than $40 per thousand cubic meters, while Gazprom's average portfolio price was around $100 per thousand cubic meters. In 2020, the average exports price for Gazprom exports exceeded the month-ahead TTF index standing above $130 per thousand cubic meters. Thus, Gazprom managed to live through the peak of last year's crisis with some good financial results, and this was made possible thanks to our well-balanced portfolio of long-term export contracts. Our company demonstrated resilience against most significant pricing fluctuations. More than half of export volumes were sold with a link to spot indices for day or month ahead. At the same time, about one-third had a link to much longer forwards. About 13% of the whole volume had an oil link in the pricing formula. Gazprom keeps adapting its contractual model to fit the developments of the gas market. Our portfolio enables us to find the right balance and hit the sweet spot between selling the gas at competitive market prices and the strive to prevent excessive dependency on the volatile environment. Thus, we maintain our position in the market. Our electronic trading platform has proven its flexibility last year as well and kept developing. It ensured additional volumes of sales and capacity utilization of the transportation facilities. It has also helped us stabilize the European market. With the spot prices coming down, we reshaped the platform to trade longer period products. This reduced pressure on spot prices. Our sales electronically in 2020 went up by 12 billion cubic meters year on year and exceeded 27 billion cubic meters, including forwards. On top of that, last year we successfully implemented trading instruments with new types of pricing and supply periods. This allowed us to sell seasonal products with deliveries in 2021 and 2022. On top of that, we have penetrated new markets, selling our first volumes to Turkey. Our company is successfully moving towards diversified destinations in Europe. This allows us to reduce the risks and costs of transit as well as greenhouse gas emissions. Despite the strong sanctions pressure, Nord Stream 2 project is underway. In mid-December 2020, pipeline work continued. The timing of the full section underwater depends on a number of sectors, such as the weather, the timing of the works, etc. All work is going on fully in line with permits obtained. On top of that, early in 2020, we commissioned Turk Stream project, which is in good shape and operating well. It reliably supplies Russian gas via the Black Sea to Turkey and 6 European countries: Bulgaria, Greece, North Macedonia, Romania, Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Once Bulgarian, Serbian and Hungarian national operators have expanded their gas transportation systems by autumn 2021, we could expect deliveries to start in Hungary via the new route. Hence, Turkish stream capacity utilization is set to increase. Gazprom is also working systemically to expand and diversify its routes towards China. Despite the pandemic of COVID-19 in 2020, gas demand kept growing in China. According to preliminary assessment, about 325 billion cubic meters of consumption were registered in that country. It's about 6% higher than in 2019. We are ramping up our supplies via the Power of Siberia. In 2020, we delivered 4.1 billion cubic meters of gas. In the cold winter of Q4, the Chinese side requested higher deliveries as compared to what we have in the contract. In 2021, the growth of supplies continued fully in line with the contract. In 2030, by 2030, we expect significant growth of gas demand in China by more than 50% compared to the level of 2020. Key drivers include active government policy to replace coal with gas. Also, the government is stimulating to grow the share of gas in the national energy mix, and generally favorable macro drivers, including the growth of the Chinese economy. Gazprom is going to become one of the key beneficiaries from the growth of gas demand in China. We are going to ramp up supplies via Power of Siberia, and this would also stimulate development of additional gas transportation projects in the region. Gazprom is continuing its efforts to finalize negotiations according to previously agreed routes. We are also working on a new project to supply Russian gas to China via Mongolia. In December 2019, we signed an MOU with the government of Mongolia. It provides a joint assessment of this project to see whether it can be implemented. In August 2020, we signed an MOI with the government of Mongolia to set up an SPV. Its objective is to develop feed for construction and operations of Soyuz Vostok trunk pipeline via the territory of Mongolia. In January 2021, this SPV was registered in Mongolia, and it's called Gas Pipeline Soyuz Vostok. It has started its investigation. On 10th and 11th March this year, their experts flew over the potential route for this pipeline in Mongolia. An important element to diversify the sales markets is LNG business. Gazprom's group's position in LNG is relatively modest as compared to what we supply by pipeline. 2020 became a breakthrough year for our operations on the LNG trading side. We have doubled trading of our LNG portfolio to 7.4 million tons, as well as the number of destination countries to 14. These numbers have been achieved thanks to a significant increase in trading operations on the spot and short-term markets. Another positive driver is the fact that Gazprom Group has increased its LNG sales towards the design shell. On top of that, in 2020, we have started a new operating LNG center of Gazprom Export in St. Petersburg. This center is in close contact with our existing offices in London and Singapore. The whole point here is to reinforce the presence of Gazprom Group in the global LNG market and set a foothold for new LNG projects in Russia. The key element here is the Ust-Luga complex in Leningrad region to process ethane content of gas and produce LNG. We are also developing LNG bunkering in Russia. In December 2020, the first bunkering vessel, Dmitry Mendeleev, was successfully launched, and it is expected to start operations in 2021. LNG projects open up some good prospects to supply a product which is principally new to the market, which is carbon-neutral LNG. Pretty recently, on the 8th of March 2021, the first transaction of the kind with Shell was run. LNG was delivered to the buyer. CO2 emissions across the full chain of production, transportation, and consumption were offset with dedicated certificates, and we see a huge demand here for customers who share our wish to protect the environment as much we can. Colleagues, major changes have occurred on the global gas markets. Nonetheless, Gazprom's positions as an exporter remain strong. We are optimistic about the prospects of our gas in Europe. Reduction of indigenous production in Europe is going to support demand for imported gas. Discontinued coal-powered and nuclear power generation, growth of demand for electric power, and increased capacities of renewables will see more demand for gas as well as an element guaranteeing stability of the energy system. Gas is fully aligned with ambitious climate change goals in a reasonable and reliable energy system, it's going to maintain its key role also as a means to produce hydrogen. Gazprom is working towards that end. Thank you for your attention. Over to the next speaker.